Hello and welcome to our video on the endocrine system. The endocrine system is made up of several organs called glands. These glands, located all over the body, create and release hormones. Hormones are chemicals that coordinate different functions in the body by carrying messages through the blood to the organs, skin, muscles, and other tissues. These signals tell the body what to do and when to do it. The human body is made up of 11 organ systems: cardiovascular, circulatory, respiratory, reproductive, digestive, nervous, urinary, integumentary, skin, immune, lymphatic, muscular, skeletal, and endocrine systems. All the organ systems interact with each other. The endocrine system aids in the proper function of all the other organ systems. For example, the endocrine system aids with reproduction, metabolism, digestion, bone health, kidney function, red blood cell production, overall growth of the entire body, stress management, autonomic function, and sleep. The endocrine system continuously monitors the amount of hormones in the blood. Hormones deliver their messages by locking into the cells they target so they can relay the message. The pituitary gland senses when hormone levels rise and tell other glands to stop producing and releasing hormones. When hormone levels dip below a certain point, the pituitary gland can instruct other glands to produce and release more. This process, called homeostasis, works similarly to the thermostat in a house. Hormones affect nearly every process in the body, including metabolism, growth and development, emotions and mood, fertility and sexual function, sleep, blood pressure. Sometimes glands produce too much or not enough of a hormone. This imbalance can cause health problems such as weight gain, high blood pressure, and changes in sleep, mood, and behavior. Many things can affect how your body creates and releases hormones. Illness, stress, and certain medications can cause a hormone imbalance. There are two major categories of glands in the body: exocrine and endocrine. Exocrine glands. Exocrine glands have ducts that carry their secretory product to a surface. These glands include the sweat, sebaceous, and mammary glands, and the glands that secrete digestive enzymes. Endocrine glands. Endocrine glands do not have ducts to carry their product to a surface. They are called ductless glands. The word endocrine is derived from the Greek term endo, meaning within, and crine, meaning to separate or secrete. The secretory products of endocrine glands are called hormones and are secreted directly into the blood and then carried throughout the body, where they influence only those cells that have receptor sites for that hormone. The endocrine system is made up of organs called glands. Glands produce and release different hormones that target specific things in the body. You have glands all over your body, including your neck, brain, and reproductive organs. Some glands are tiny, about the size of a grain of rice or a pea. The largest gland is the pancreas, which is about 6 inches long. The main glands that produce hormones include hypothalamus. This gland is located in your brain and controls your endocrine system. It uses information from your nervous system to determine when to tell other glands, including the pituitary gland, to produce hormones. The hypothalamus controls many processes in your body, including your mood, hunger and thirst, sleep patterns, and sexual function. Pituitary. This little gland is only about the size of a pea, but it has a big job. It makes hormones that control several other glands such as the thyroid gland, adrenal glands, ovaries, and testicles. The pituitary gland is in charge of many different functions, including how your body grows. It's located at the base of your brain. Thyroid. Your thyroid is a butterfly-shaped gland in the front of your neck. It's responsible for your metabolism, how your body uses energy. Parathyroid. These 4 tiny glands are no larger than a grain of rice. They control the level of calcium in your body. For your heart, kidneys, bones, and nervous system to work, you need the right amount of calcium. Adrenal. You have 2 adrenal glands, one on top of each kidney. They control your metabolism, blood pressure, sexual development, and response to stress. Pineal. This gland manages your sleep cycle by releasing melatonin, a hormone that causes you to feel sleepy. Pancreas. Your pancreas is part of your endocrine system, and it plays a significant role in your digestive system too. It makes a hormone called insulin that controls the level of sugar in your body. Ovaries. In women, the ovaries release sex hormones called estrogen, progesterone, and testosterone. Women have 2 ovaries in their lower abdomen, one on either side. Testes. In men, the testicles, make sperm and release the hormone testosterone. This hormone affects sperm production, muscle strength, and sex drive. Chemical nature of hormones. Chemically, hormones may be classified as either proteins or steroids. All of the hormones in the human body, except the sex hormones and those from the adrenal cortex, are proteins or protein derivatives. Mechanism of hormone. Action hormones are carried by the blood throughout the entire body, yet they affect only certain cells. The specific cells that respond to a given hormone have receptor sites for that hormone. This is sort of a lock and key mechanism. If the key fits the lock, then the door will open. If a hormone fits the receptor site, then there will be an effect. If a hormone and a receptor site do not match, then there is no reaction. All the cells that have receptor sites for a given hormone make up the target tissue for that hormone. In some cases, the target tissue is localized in a single gland or organ. In other cases, the target tissue is diffused and scattered throughout the body so that many areas are affected. Hormones bring about their characteristic effects on target cells by modifying cellular activity. Protein hormones react with receptors on the surface of the cell, and the sequence of events that results in hormone action is relatively rapid. Steroid hormones typically react with receptor sites inside a cell. Because this method of action actually involves synthesis of proteins, it is relatively slow. Control of hormone action. Hormones are very potent substances, which means that very small amounts of a hormone may have a profound effect on metabolic processes. Because of their potency, hormone secretion must be regulated within very narrow limits in order to maintain homeostasis in the body. Many hormones are controlled by some form of negative feedback mechanism. In this type of system, a gland is sensitive to the concentration of a substance that it regulates. A negative feedback system causes a reversal of increases and decreases in body conditions in order to maintain a state of stability or homeostasis. Some endocrine glands secrete hormones in response to other hormones. The hormones that cause secretion of other hormones are called tropic hormones. A hormone from gland A causes gland B to secrete its hormone. A third method of regulating hormone secretion is by direct nervous stimulation. A nerve stimulus causes gland A to secrete its hormone. The endocrine system is made up of the endocrine glands that secrete hormones. Although there are 8 major endocrine glands scattered throughout the body, they are still considered to be one system because they have similar functions, similar mechanisms of influence, and many important interrelationships. Some glands also have non-endocrine regions that have functions other than hormone secretion. For example, the pancreas has a major exocrine portion that secretes digestive enzymes and an endocrine portion that secretes hormones. Some organs, such as the stomach, intestines, and heart, produce hormones, but their primary function is not hormone secretion. The pineal gland is a tiny gland located inside the brain. Its primary function is to produce a hormone called melatonin. Melatonin makes a person feel sleepy and aids in letting the body know when it is dark outside and when it is time for rest. Most of the hormones released by the hypothalamus act on an anterior pituitary gland to either stimulate it to release hormone into the blood or inhibit hormone release. An easy way to remember which hormones the hypothalamus makes are the ones with the word releasing in them, such as growth hormone releasing hormone. ADH and oxytocin are unique because they are made in the hypothalamus, which they are stored and released into the blood via the posterior pituitary gland. The anterior pituitary produces hormones that enter the blood so they can travel to other organs and act on them. An easy way to remember which hormones are released by the anterior pituitary gland are the hormones with the word stimulating in them, such as follicle-stimulating hormone. The nice thing about both the hypothalamus and pituitary hormone names is that the name tells you what the hormone does. Most of the hormones listed on this slide aid in growth and reproductive processes. Pituitary gland. The pituitary gland, or hypophysis, is a small gland about 1 centimeter in diameter, or the size of a pea. It is nearly surrounded by bone as it rests in the sella turcica, a depression of the sphenoid bone. The gland is connected to the hypothalamus of the brain by a slender stalk called the infundibulum. There are 2 distinct regions in the gland: the anterior lobe, adenohypophysis, and the posterior lobe, neurohypophysis. The activity of the adenohypophysis is controlled by releasing hormones from the hypothalamus. The neurohypophysis is controlled by nerve stimulation. Most of the hormones released by the hypothalamus act on the anterior pituitary gland to either stimulate it to release hormone into the blood or inhibit hormone release. An easy way to remember which hormones the hypothalamus makes are the ones with the word releasing in them, such as growth hormone releasing hormone. ADH and oxytocin are unique because they are made in the hypothalamus, but they are stored and released into the blood via the posterior pituitary gland. The anterior pituitary produces hormones that enter the blood so that they can travel to other organs and act on them. An easy way to remember which hormones are released by the anterior pituitary gland are the hormones with the word stimulating in them, such as follicle-stimulating hormones. The nice thing about both the hypothalamus and pituitary hormone names is that they tell you what the hormone does. Hormones of the anterior lobe, adenohypophysis. Growth hormone is a protein that stimulates the growth of bones, muscles, and other organs by promoting protein synthesis. This hormone drastically affects the appearance of an individual because it influences height. If there is too little growth hormone in a child, that person may become a pituitary dwarf of normal proportions but small stature. An excess of the hormone in a child results in an exaggerated bone growth, and the individual becomes exceptionally tall or a giant. Thyroid-stimulating hormone, or thyrotropin, causes the glandular cells of the thyroid to secrete thyroid hormone. When there is a hypersecretion of thyroid-stimulating hormone, the thyroid gland enlarges and secretes too much thyroid hormone. Adrenocorticotropic hormone reacts with receptor sites in the cortex of the adrenal gland to stimulate the secretion of cortical hormones, particularly cortisol. Gonadotrophic hormones react with receptor sites in the gonads, or ovaries and testes, to regulate the development, growth, and function of these organs. Prolactin hormone promotes the development of glandular tissue in the female breast during pregnancy and stimulates milk production after the birth of the infant. Hormones of the posterior lobe, neurohypophysis. Antidiuretic hormone promotes the reabsorption of water by the kidney tubules, with the result that less water is lost as urine. This mechanism conserves water for the body. Insufficient amounts of antidiuretic hormone can cause excessive water loss in the urine. Oxytocin causes contraction of the smooth muscle in the wall of the uterus. It also stimulates the ejection of milk from the lactating breast. The thyroid and parathyroid glands are in the anterior part of the neck. T3 and T4 are released by the thyroid and have multiple functions related to cell growth, energy metabolism and weight, temperature regulation, sleep, skin maintenance, cognition, and immunity. Almost every cell in the body has receptors for T3 and T4. The thyroid gland consists of two lobes, one on each side of the trachea, just below the larynx or voice box. The two lobes are connected by a narrow band of tissue called the isthmus. Internally, the gland consists of follicles which produce thyroxine and triiodothyronine hormones. These hormones contain iodine. About 95% of the active thyroid hormone is thyroxine, and most of the remaining 5% is triiodothyronine. Both of these require iodine for their synthesis. Thyroid hormone secretion is regulated by a negative feedback mechanism that involves the amount of circulating hormone, hypothalamus, and adenohypophysis. If there is an iodine deficiency, the thyroid cannot make sufficient hormone. This stimulates the anterior pituitary to secrete thyroid-stimulating hormone, which causes the thyroid gland to increase in size in a vain attempt to produce more hormones. But it cannot produce more hormones because it does not have the necessary raw material, iodine. This type of thyroid enlargement is called simple goiter or iodine deficiency goiter. The thyroid also releases calcitonin, which lowers blood calcium levels by preventing it from being taken out of the bones and encourages the kidneys to excrete calcium into the urine. 4 small masses of epithelial tissue are embedded in the connective tissue capsules on the posterior surface of the thyroid glands. These are parathyroid glands, and they secrete parathyroid hormone and parathormone. Parathyroid hormone is the most important regulator of blood calcium levels. The hormone is secreted in response to low blood calcium levels, and its effect is to increase those levels. Hyperparathyroidism, or insufficient secretion of parathyroid hormone, leads to increased nerve excitability. The low blood calcium levels trigger spontaneous and continuous nerve impulses, which then stimulate muscle contraction. The parathyroid glands release parathyroid hormone, PTH, which increases blood calcium levels by stimulating calcium release from the bones and stimulates the kidneys to reabsorb calcium into the blood. In the body, there is a right adrenal gland and a left adrenal gland. Sometimes they are called suprarenal glands. Both names just mean that the glands are located on top of the kidneys. Each gland is divided into an outer cortex and an inner medulla. The cortex and medulla of the adrenal gland, like the anterior and posterior lobes of the pituitary, develop from different embryonic tissues and secrete different hormones. The adrenal cortex is essential to life, but the medulla may be removed with no life-threatening effects. The hypothalamus of the brain influences both portions of the adrenal gland, but by different mechanisms. The adrenal cortex is regulated by negative feedback involving the hypothalamus and adrenocorticotropic hormone. The medulla is regulated by nerve impulses from the hypothalamus. Primary 5 hormones are produced by the adrenal glands: aldosterone, cortisol, androgens, epinephrine, and norepinephrine. Aldosterone helps regulate blood pressure and volume by altering sodium and water reabsorption in the kidneys. Cortisol is involved with glucose metabolism and suppression of the immune system. Androgens are related to testosterone and help with sexual function and muscle tone. Epinephrine and norepinephrine are part of the sympathetic nervous system, which is part of the autonomic nervous system, and they are released in times of stress to increase the heart rate and to change the diameter of blood vessels to alter blood pressure. The pancreas has three parts: head, body, and tail. The head is nestled next to the duodenum of the small intestine and the gallbladder and bile ducts, as seen in the image on the slide. The body and tail are below the pylorus of the stomach. The pancreas is part of two organ systems, digestive and endocrine. Since this is a presentation on the endocrine system, only the endocrine functions of the pancreas will be discussed. The three primary hormones released by the pancreas are insulin, glycogen, and somatostatin. These hormones control glucose levels in the blood. Insulin is released by beta cells after food is ingested in order to bring glucose from the blood into the cells. Type 1 diabetes mellitus is when the body can no longer make insulin. Type 2 diabetes mellitus is when the body is no longer sensitive to insulin. Glycogen is made by the alpha cells in the pancreas. Glucogen is released during times of fasting and signals to the liver to start making glucose so cells can use it for energy. An easy way to remember this is glucogen is released when glucose is gone. Somatostatin is released by beta cells in the pancreas when levels of insulin and glucogen need to be reduced, and it also inhibits the actions of growth hormone. There are two ovaries. They are oval-shaped and located next to the uterus. The two hormones they primarily release are estrogen and progesterone. Estrogen helps females develop breast tissue during puberty and causes ovulation, which is when an egg is released from the ovary for possible fertilization. Progesterone helps maintain the lining of the uterus so that if an egg is fertilized, it can implant into the uterus. Both estrogen and progesterone are important for maintaining pregnancies as well, to make sure the fetus makes it to full term. There are two testicles located outside of the abdomen in a sac called the scrotum, which is located behind the penis and in front of the anus. The testes produce testosterone and other masculine hormones such as androgens. These hormones aid in male puberty, sperm production, libido, and muscle mass. Since males produce more testosterone than females, they develop larger and stronger muscles. Low testosterone levels result in infertility due to the inability of the testicles to make sperm. In addition to the major endocrine glands, other organs have some hormonal activity as part of their function. These include the thymus, stomach, small intestines, heart, and placenta. Thymosin, produced by the thymus gland, plays an important role in the development of the body's immune system. The lining of the stomach, the gastric mucosa, produces a hormone called gastrin in response to the presence of food in the stomach. This hormone stimulates the production of hydrochloric acid and the enzyme pepsin, which are used in the digestion of food. The mucosa of the small intestine secretes the hormones secretin and cholecystokinin. Secreting stimulates the pancreas to produce a bicarbonate-rich fluid that neutralizes the stomach acid. Cholecystokinin stimulates the contraction of the gallbladder, which releases bile. It also stimulates the pancreas to secrete digestive enzyme. The heart also acts as an endocrine gland in addition to its major role of pumping blood. Special cells of the wall of the upper chambers of the heart, called atria, produce a hormone called atrionatriuretic hormone, or atriopeptin. The placenta develops in the pregnant female as a source of nourishment and gas exchange for the developing fetus. It also serves as a temporary endocrine gland. One of the hormones it secretes is human chorionic gonadotropin, which signals to the mother's ovaries to secrete hormones to maintain the uterine lining so that it does not degenerate and slough off in menstruation. In summary, the endocrine system contains all the glands and organs that produce hormones. Hormones travel through the blood to act on all cells in the body to make desired changes and to maintain normal function. If there is an imbalance in a single or multiple hormones, different disorders and health problems can arise. Thank you for watching and have a great day.